Hello, friends. Pakistan has once again perpetrated a brutal terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir on 22nd April in Pahalgam, killing 28 Hindu tourists based on their religious identity. Everyone is shocked and aghast. The entire country is asking for revenge. Social media channels, mainstream media, and the news channels are asking for revenge 24/7. Prime Minister has promised an unimaginable retaliation, and he explicitly stated that India will track, identify, and hunt the terrorist until the end of the earth. Now the question arises, can we do that? What are the options that we have? What are our capabilities? I guess to answer that question, we need to look at the past. Back in the year 2001, when Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists attacked the Indian Parliament, Prime Minister Mr. Vajpayee amassed thousands of Indian soldiers on the Pakistani border, threatening a full scale war. That consolidation remained for about 7 to 8 months, following which India withdrew and war did not happen. However, the pressure tactic did not work and Pakistan continued with its most lethal terror attacks. Over the years, we saw the Pakistan terror network spreading to various other parts of the country, and bomb explosions were occurring in various other cities like Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Jaipur, Coimbatore. And even the local terror groups like Indian Mujahideen and Simi were getting in touch with Pakistan. Then finally, in 2008, the Mumbai attacks happened, killing 166 people. Pakistan sponsored terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba was responsible for it. Nothing deterred Pakistan. After that, when the chiefs were called and the Indian intelligence czars were called and asked for the retaliation, they said that, well, Pakistan has the nuclear capability and this escalation can go beyond control. Retaliation was averted. We thought that the pressure tactic, diplomatic pressure, and the kind of environment which was created after that, where India complained to the Western nations and tried to build intense pressure on Pakistan, would ultimately help and deter Pakistan from continuing such terror machinery in Jammu and Kashmir. However, Pakistan didn't stop there. Pakistan continued its terror machinery, diversified its terror money raising systems, also the tactics, and we saw that Kashmir witnessed massive civil unrest, social outrage, and terror attacks. Then in 2016, we saw post Burhanwani, there was a huge, massive protest across the entire Jammu and Kashmir, particularly in the valley. Police stations were burnt, and in South Kashmir, there was a time when Indian administration was almost kicked out from that area. Then Uri Fidain attack happened. After that, India conducted surgical strikes inside the Pakistani territory. Surgical strikes were portrayed as a great achievement in India's media, mainstream media discourse. People were praising the government that this was the first time that India conducted surgical strike. Though we did that even before that, but they were never publicized. However, I must agree that this was Modi's India, as Modi had already won the elections and he was the prime minister, and he promised to have a tougher approach and a very stringent attitude towards terrorism and India's adversaries. But contrary to our expectations, the surgical strikes did not deter Pakistan. Pakistan continued with its lethal Fidain attacks, and then in 2019, Pakistan perpetrated the most deadly Pulwama Fidain attack, killing 42 Indian soldiers. After that, again the entire nation was shocked. Then India retaliated with the Balakot airstrikes, destroying the Jaish camp. But there are many theories which contest the Indian claims of killing 300 Jaish terrorists in the Balakot Jaish camp. Still, the doubt remains, but one cannot rule out the possibility that 300 terrorists died in that attack. But most importantly, for the first time, India crossed the red lines and entered the Pakistani airspace and hit Pakistan deep inside its territory. India called on called off the Pakistan's nuclear bluff, which had almost prevented India from taking any major retaliatory action for about 2 decades. And we all thought that Pakistan will improve now. Pakistanis captured our fighter pilot, which was released later by the American pressure and also because of the Indian pressure. And this whole event was celebrated as India's great victory in the mainstream media. Whole country was gung ho about Modi's tough approach, and Modi won the elections of 2019. And after that, we expected him to take a very tough approach. Then the government of India abrogated Article 370, which conferred a special status to Jammu and Kashmir. And the alibi given was to launch a crackdown on the terror financing and the terror radicalization ecosystem in Jammu and Kashmir. As a researcher, I have worked in Jammu and Kashmir for more than 5 years, and I can see that the abrogation of Article 370 was a milestone. It was a crucial step, which was like a massive attack on the terror financing and radicalization ecosystem of Pakistan. For quite some time, in fact, it almost destroyed Pakistan's terror machinery and the terror financing networks. Old separatists were arrested, OGW networks were busted, and Pakistan was clueless. But once again, Pakistan was not deterred. Pakistan decided to change its strategy. Pakistan started sending very battle-hardened and hardcore Taliban-style jihadis from the FATA region to India. They knew that Americans are gonna go from that area, and those jihadis had to be placed somewhere unless they become a trouble for Pakistan. They were sent to Jammu and Kashmir, and they were instructed to reach Jammu and Kashmir and consolidate themselves and stay radio silent, which they did for quite some time, and establish their bases in jungles. Also, in those days, India had basically developed a very strong tech-in capabilities with the help of Israelis, and those tech-in capabilities were quite helpful in neutralizing the terrorist commanders in Jammu and Kashmir finally. But after that, Pakistan started innovating in its communication standards and protocols, and they came up with the device called ultrasets, which are still immune to any kind of decryption, and the government of India is not yet able to crack that. But following that change in the strategy, Pakistani jihadis, they consolidated themselves in the jungles of Jammu and Kashmir, and from there they started attacking Indian security forces. One crucial reason for consolidating in the jungles was that if ever a war happens between India and Pakistan, they could attack the military convoys and the troop deployments also, and the military vehicles are trying to reach the borders from the jungles. And one thing that needs to be mentioned here specifically is that the militants who came after the abrogation of Article 370, they were highly battle-hardened and well-trained militants, whose training levels matched to the special forces and the para-commandos of India. And the encounters which have taken place in the last 2 to 3 years, they are highly militarized, and in those encounters, there have been major casualties of the members of our special forces also. So the question again remains that could we deter them with the Balakot strike, and the answer is no. So now, having said that, I ask the question, what options do we have now when we vow an unimaginable revenge against Pakistan? Frankly speaking, surgical strike is not going to work. Air strike on any of the terror training camps is not going to work. And mind it, this time Pakistan is already alert. They have advanced radar systems, AWACS, and like it happened in 2019, they are not going to be careless about it this time. So if anything of that sort happens, perhaps they're going to retaliate, and that can lead to further embarrassment for India. As far as the preparations are concerned, I must say that in conventional war, India is superior to Pakistan, but still we have major lapses on our side also, and major challenges as far as the defense equipment is concerned. To fight a two-front war, India needs 42 squadrons, but unfortunately, we just have like 31 squadrons right now. And most of our fleet is old fleet. Pakistan has JF-17 and advanced fighter jets, F-16. Though we have got Rafale this time, but still there are lacunas which need to be addressed. Then there are lacunas on the naval side also, on the anti-aircraft gun, and other kind of munitions. Besides, we must be mindful of the fact that Pakistan will be getting defense support and drone systems from Turkey, also diplomatic support from Turkey and various other Islamic countries. If this extends to, or if this escalates to a higher or a very intensified war kind of a situation, then even India will have to pay a price. So it's really challenging. It's a question that's very difficult to answer. What can we exactly do? Are we in the position to escalate the situation? Frankly speaking, it looks very challenging and very difficult. But what happens if we don't do it? If we don't do it, the present government loses its credibility, image, and prestige among the population of India. People brought the government because they thought that this government is going to act very tough on the national security issues. Over the last 12 years, Islamic extremists have consolidated their hold on the Muslims in India. And we can see that the Indian Muslims are getting strongly connected to the pan-Islamist forces. PFI clearly stated that it wants to make India an Islamic nation by 2047. So people brought this government only because they thought that the government will take very tough action on the issue of Islamic extremism and Pakistan's incursions and sponsoring terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir and the other parts of India. But after 12 years, I guess we have not made any progress. We are still at the same level. Even in Jammu and Kashmir, there were major security lapses after the abrogation of Article 370 in 2019. But we also failed on the front of addressing the question of radicalization at an ideological level in Jammu and Kashmir. Well, discussing them is beyond the scope of this discussion. But the main question, that what are the possible options, remains a very challenging question. And unfortunately, I have to say that we don't have many options. But if the government fails to inflict massive damage on Pakistan, break its morale, then there will be consequences for that. And this time, when you say unimaginable consequences, people expect you to do a major action in the POK or expand the chicken neck corridor in Bangladesh by conquering some part of its territory, dealing with the radicals and Islamists over there, or create massive problems in Bangladesh or Balochistan and dismember Pakistan. Are we willing to go to that extent? Do we have the capabilities? And we also need to factor that if there is a warlike situation, Pakistan will activate its sleeper cells across the country. Pakistan will foment communal riots across the country. Situation is already grim. Communal polarization is a very serious challenge today. Islamist and the Muslim population in India is already enraged with various measures like the Waqf Board and the CA, NRC, etc., etc. At the same time, even the Hindu majority population is not happy with the government because they could not implement some of the very useful measures for national security like the CA, NRC, Waqf Board, and the questions of, and also the measures against the illegal immigration. So, with this, I would like to ask again a question, that what can we do? I'm sure all the audience, the people who are watching this video, are also thinking about the same question, but the answer is not that simple. So frankly speaking, we don't have many options, as we have already exhausted the options of minor surgical strikes or air raids. But if we don't act, then there will be very serious consequences. Pakistan will be emboldened to conduct more terror strikes in Jammu and Kashmir and other parts of India, and also foment communal riots. And it will be in the interest of Pakistan if this government goes out of power in 2029. And then to establish a government here which comes riding on the support of the Islamists. And if that scenario ever becomes a reality, it will be very difficult to save India's secular character. Because Islamists who will be coming to power or supporting a political party which stands in the opposition of the current government will be bringing in radical changes in the Indian constitution and also measures and constitutional amendments which will be tantamount to the appeasement of extremists. And the lives of the non-Muslims, particularly the Hindu majority, the Buddhists, Jains, Christians, will be difficult. We have seen that happening in Bangladesh. After the ouster of Hasina Sheikh, Islamists are ruling the roost in Bangladesh. They are killing, raping, brutally torturing the non-Muslims. And if that scenario becomes a reality in India, then South Asia will be doomed to hell. With this, I rest my case. And again, I feel that government of India seriously needs to think about what it can do to address this Pakistan problem of India, or rather, I should say, the problem of Islamic extremism, because Pakistan is just a manifestation of that idea. And mind it, if we don't act, Pakistan will continue to do that. So this is the time when we must think about it seriously, build our capacities, and deal a final blow to Pakistan. Avoiding the problem is not a solution.